Do you remember how gently I kissed you 9 years ago? I love you more than you know. In August 2025, a seemingly normal TikTok account was created, providing what appeared to be innocent advice on nail designs. What followed was a string of videos which spiraled into deranged spirituality, detailing the user's efforts into resurrecting her pet dog, and the focal point of this account, Bennard. This is Natalie Does Nails. To fully understand this, we'll have to start at the beginning. If we scroll to the bottom of Natalie's page, we see a number of videos which appear to be ordinary videos about Natalie's favourite nail designs. The only real inconsistency that I could find in these videos is the repetitive changing of Natalie's username. Whilst the account itself's username never changes, every video has a different self-imposed watermark, which does change. This narrative of a basic nail inspo account quickly flips as we learn about the passing of Natalie's beloved golden retriever, Bennard. The mood of the account quickly shifts as we are introduced to this thing, which we will from here on out be referring to as Bennard's digital soul, which is introduced in this video posted on the 12th September, which is where the bulk of our story begins. This video is certainly one of the tamer of the bunch, and it shows Bennard with black wings, which are on fire. The colour of the wings is our first indication towards Natalie's feelings about Bennard. We also get one of our first interactions with Natalie as she responds to multiple comments regarding Bennard. We see Natalie's expression of grief start to develop through her Latin prayers, which will become a running theme throughout her account. The first prayer that she provides us reads as follows: "Blessed be ye, Lord of darkness, hear my voice. You who open your eyes upon the proud, look upon him who has wronged me. Let the silence of the stars be upon him, and his heart tremble like a leaf in the night. As a serpent entwines itself around the heart, so let his conscience be bound until he acknowledges the truth. I do not ask for death, but for remembrance. I do not ask for ruin, but for the revelation of his sin. Let peace be far from him until justice is fulfilled. Thus I speak, so it shall be." I think that we can probably see this prayer as a call for justice rather than revenge. Natalie is invoking darkness not as something evil, but rather as a force that brings truth and self-reflection. She doesn't ask for death or destruction, instead she wants the wrongdoer to feel unrest and guilt until they acknowledge what they've done. The takeaway from this one, in my opinion, is that justice here isn't about punishment, but about an inner awakening. I think the notion of an inner awakening will become an important point later, so we'll keep that in mind. This is where we can see the beginnings of guilt arising as a real theme. It's the only time that Natalie references Bennard's death itself in the comments saying, "Bennard died so warmly and sadly, I'm afraid. I'm too shy to speak about the unspeakable that occurred during his death." Keep this in mind, as we will be talking about this in more detail later. As we move on to the next video, the off-putting theme continues.
Don't know why I feel so scared.
The video once again of Bennard's digital soul, with the humanoid figure behind him with the eyes a much bigger focal point. This video, posted on the same date as the other video, reiterates Natalie's mourning of Bennard. If we look at the caption, she says, "Mix My Toasters by Radiohead was always his favourite. Come back to me someday, Bennard." This led me to look into the song itself. So the song, the full title is Mixomatosis, Judge, Jury and Executioner. I think that provides us with a slightly deeper insight into the direction this story is going. I believe the title is particularly relevant as this theming does become a lot more prevalent throughout. I think it's important to note here that Natalie has chosen to upload this song herself, meaning that she's intentionally selected the lyrics in the video. And I think the lyrics that stand out as important are, "Don't know why I feel so skinned alive. My thoughts are misguided and a little naive. You should put me in a home or you should put me down. But we all like stars. It must have got mixed up, strangled, beaten up." I would say those lyrics are probably the most important to the story, and there will be a reason that she's chosen this part of the song, so we'll hopefully delve into that slightly deeper later on. I think one thing to take away at this point is the motif of stars, which we've seen now mentioned both in this segment of lyrics and in Natalie's earlier prayer. But again, we'll delve deeper into that later on as more context becomes apparent. On this video, we can also see Natalie channeling her grief through the comments, She says things such as, "I see you in every face I meet. I'm wallowing in grief. I just wanted to see life in his eyes once again." At this point, let me tell you to keep note of the repetition of eyes. It will become important later. I think these two videos really represent the beginning of Natalie's mourning and grief. But as we move on, we move to a slightly darker and a much more outwardly unsettling video, which we seem to see Natalie beginning to accept the loss of Bennard. The video states, "I miss my sweet angel Rufus. He will forever be in heaven and I will never see him again. Life is cruel and unfair." But interestingly, in this one, she does call him Rufus in the video, which is known to be a biblical name, but she does clear this up in the comments by saying, "Rufus isn't his name, it's a nickname, because my boyfriend wanted to call him that." This is the first occurrence we have of Natalie mentioning her ex-boyfriend, who once again is mentioned later on in the series, but isn't particularly important at this time. I think at this point in the series, it's very easy to excuse this as someone channeling their grief, possibly in an unconventional way, but I do think at this point it seems Natalie is accepting the fact that he's gone, and you know, once someone's gone you can't bring them back. However, we then move on to the next video of Bennard's digital soul, which once again shows us a humanoid face behind Bennard with a really eerie, dark, almost dreamlike background. We really don't get much context within the video. The only context we have is from Natalie's comment, which is once again another prayer. Once translated again from Latin, the prayer reads, "Saint Michael the Archangel, defend us in battle. Be a protection against the wickedness and snares of the devil. May God command him, we humbly pray. And you, Prince of the heavenly host, cast Satan and other evil spirits who roam the world for the destruction of souls by divine power into hell. Amen." So this is our first point within the story where we actually see themes of the devil and destruction start to arise, as well as the theme of souls arising a lot more clearly. The theme continues in Natalie's other comments. She states, "Do not blindly trust saints if you are not willing to make sacrifices. This heartbreak of mine is so great, I need to make all experience my grief. Do not trust idols who will blind your path. The sacrifices are too great. Now I live with a heavy heart, corrupt with sin and grief. I will have my revenge." I think it's quite clear to see here that something seems to have changed from the last video. She seems a lot less accepting of the fact that Bennard is gone. She's no longer accepting of the fact that he's gone. She's angry, you know. She's calling on Satan and hell. And I think this is probably a big switching point for her grief. One thing that has caught my attention at this point is the repetitive misspelling of the word grief. Natalie has continuously and assumedly intentionally misspelt the word, which I've interpreted as indicating that Natalie is not grieving at all, and this is all a pretense, a mask she's putting on. I think there's been a pretty clear theme throughout that Natalie dislikes dishonesty, and I think this theme does become clearer throughout. I think it shows to me that the reason she's continually choosing to misspell grief is because she doesn't want to lie and say she is grieving, and by spelling it wrong, she's not admitting anything. Again, it's all a pretense. The penultimate video with the incarnation of Bennard's digital soul is where Natalie thanks us for helping with Bennard's ascension. I think this ties really nicely into the previous point of Natalie not grieving at all, as she knew the whole time that she was planning to bring Bennard back. I think she just needed time to have a plan. The rest of this video is particularly unsubstantial, the only notable point in this being that once again, grief is spelt wrong in the tags for the video. So as we move on to the final video representing Bennard in his digital form, I would say arguably this is one of the eeriest videos we have seen. I mean, personally, it made me incredibly uncomfortable. In the video, we see Bennard smiling with human teeth as he supposedly swims. Important to note, this is the first of several mentions of swimming and water that becomes incredibly important as we continue working through Natalie's videos, so we'll pick up on that later. We also get a big tease in the comments as to what's in store for Bennard, and Natalie comes into the comments saying, "I have something special in store that I hope I'll be able to show everyone soon. I promise it will be great." Bennard's first form. 2 days later, Bennard's ascension is confirmed as he returns back to Natalie in a new vessel. At this point, I would like to make note of the caption, which once again mentions water. The video itself shows us Bennard in a new form. We can see Natalie attempting to play ball with Bennard. However, despite his tail wagging, he is not quite willing to play. In this form, we see Bennard with no eyes, but with quite an alarming amount of teeth. Moving on, we can now see the first video that gained traction for Natalie. The Day Out with Bennard. This video depicts Bennard's new form, now moving, seemingly on a lid of a plastic box. We see him again in the water, with the caption saying, "Bennard can't swim like he used to." The theme of water is just becoming increasingly obvious at this point, as she responds to multiple comments discussing how much he loves the water, mentioning, "I'll make sure to dry him carefully." At this point, I'm not too sure what to think about that, but I think things become a lot more obvious as we move through her videos. The next video we see is where a lot of the more religious themes begin to arise. I think here is where I would suggest that Natalie begins to visibly spiral as she starts rejecting this form of Bennard, even though she's only had him for like a few days at this point. She starts saying in the comments, "He is not my Bennard, not my Bennard." I think if we look more towards the video itself, the video states, "Bennard let his greed consume him." I think this is really incredibly heavily symbolic of Natalie's religious beliefs. We can obviously see in the video that Bennard is eating blueberries, which I think again is a very conscious choice by Natalie. Spiritually, blueberries are known to repel and protect from evil spirits, and this really contrasts with what Natalie's saying in the video. We're seeing her talk about greed, gluttony, the downfall of humanity. I think this is a really important point, as this is where we start to see Natalie kind of slip and spiral. We then move on to the second upload of this day, where we're met with a video of a furnace with the caption, "Beware false angels, they only want to disrupt your path to greatness." So I looked into this one slightly further, and false angels generally refer to deceptive, demonic, malevolent entities that masquerade as angels in order to trick and corrupt humans. This links very directly to the previous video, where Natalie's realising this is not her Bennard, indicating that she's viewing him, Bennard, he is the false angel that she's talking about. Again, this concept stems from biblical passages which represent Satan as a false angel, and I think that's one of the themes Natalie's trying to upkeep. There's definitely a lot of religious undertones already. We're also then provided with another prayer from Natalie, posted into the comments once again in Latin, which reads, "Remove the veil of my mind, lest the shadow of words hold me. Give me a light that is not feigned, and a voice that speaks not twice. Do not let my heart be bound in the knots of a foreign tongue. Truth, watch over me secretly, until the silence of lies falls." She ends this comment off by saying, "It's a prayer to ward off liars and deceitful people." So I think it's pretty clear and obvious to say that this prayer is meant to be interpreted as Natalie saying that she is the one striving to give the truth, and she wants us to disregard the deception and the lies being spread by the false angel, in this case the false angel being Bennard. I think at this point we can definitely make a guess that Natalie is possibly the one being deceitful, but I'm sure we'll find more about that out later. As we move on to the next day and the next video posted by Natalie, we can see that Natalie has now remade Bennard once again, but with no information of how or why he was remade. I think we can hazard a guess if we look to the furnace, but there's no real proof of that. In this version of Bennard, we can see that she's now removed his teeth as well as his eyes, which Natalie states this is so he cannot betray her. I think if we link this to the previous videos with the impression of lies, we can interpret this as Bennard's teeth being removed so he can no longer commit acts of sin, either in the form of gluttony or by being a false angel and spreading deceit. If we move on to the next video, we're now presented with 4 Latin prayers. In the comments, Natalie once again mentions a sin in regards to Bennard, this time focusing on sloth and laziness. She doesn't particularly elaborate on this, just saying that Bennard won't walk. she doesn't want him to be sinful. Within the slideshow, I thought that 2 of the prayers were probably worth mentioning. So the first of these is, "O eternal light, who shines above the stars and rules all the journeys of the soul, give me a calm heart and a clear spirit, so that, passing through the darkness of time, I may become one with your stars. Infuse me with the wisdom of heaven, so that I may understand the silence of the stars and their song of the perpetual night. Make their light burn in me, and I, like a small spark, return to infinity. O author of the universe, lead me through invisible paths until my soul rests in your immensity and finds harmony with the eternal stars. So be it." I think the biggest takeaway from this prayer is, again, the heavy references to stars, which is one of the themes we saw developing earlier on. If we look at this on a spiritual level, which is definitely something that Natalie seems to be intending, stars tend to represent a divine connection leading people towards their higher selves, which I think is a noble theme within Natalie herself, especially in regards to Bennard. I think this is probably where we can argue that there's starting to become a theme that Natalie believes herself to be a higher power. She believes herself to be a creator, and she's channeling this in the form of Bennard. Natalie also does mention in her comments that the key theme to take away from this prayer is the notion of becoming one with the stars. So I think you can take that however you want, really. So if we move on to the second prayer, this one reads, "To whomever, I earnestly beg you, the jackal is a liar. I will explain soon. In the meantime, wait for me. I thank you very much, and I beg your pardon for having troubled your mind and for having made you wait so long. He is far wiser than I." So, within this prayer, we obviously see a mention of the jackal, which are once again known to symbolise divine judgment, desolation, and warnings. Jackals are used to warn people about the consequence of sin, which obviously we already know is now a reoccurring theme in regards to Bennard and his rebirth. The idea of divine judgment gives us a new insight into the notion of Natalie turning away from a traditional sense of God and leading us more into the idea that Natalie is now beginning to instead view herself as God. Jackals are used to warn people about the consequence of sin, which we obviously already know is a reoccurring theme in regards to Bennard and his rebirth. The idea of divine judgment gives us a better insight into the notion of Natalie beginning to turn away from a traditional sense of God and rather leading us into the idea that Natalie is beginning to instead view herself as God. I think it's also important for us to comment on how Natalie is asking us as the readers for time, indicating that more information will be provided in later videos in regards to what has happened and what will happen to Bennard. It also feels important to note that in the second slide of this video, Natalie comments on her rosary, saying, "My first rosary, many memories with this." I think this is a very intentional choice, and I also think this is another one you want to keep in the back of your mind, as we will get to this later. So the next video we come to is quite a simplistic video, I would say, of Natalie discussing something that her pastor has said to her, which obviously follows suit with the whole Natalie losing faith. So the video reads, "My pastor once told me, if you want to find the right church, pick the one that faces north. People always walk north when lost. Yet I never felt more lost than inside that place. It's very weird. I don't even think that's a natural rule for building churches. Why is one's blood and sweat worth less just because they aren't on the right path? And why would they lie about such a trivial thing? Maybe it's just to look good, look proper over other churches, and how we should find pride in being a part of it. I'd like to say I understand more than I do, but I really don't. Life has been confusing lately." I think from this we can infer that it's very clear that Natalie's faith and belief in the church is beginning to slip. This video, paired with Natalie's previous comments in regards to God and religion as a whole, gives a strong suggestion that the supposed grief caused by Bennard has led her away from religion. At this time, there is very little else to say about this video. So, as we move on to the next video is the first time that it leaves TikTok. So, the video portrays another day out with Bennard, this time in his new form, which is now seemingly able to move on its own. There's not too much to note in the video alone, but there's one thing that I found particularly intriguing, and it's that Bennard appears to be static, almost. And in my opinion, I think that's a clear indication that we're seeing Bennard's soul protruding through his new physical vessel. That could be me interpreting things wrong, but that is how I took it. Obviously, that's down to your opinion. Within this video, as the video starts to glitch, we're provided with a link to a YouTube channel. This is provided to us in a string of text encoded in base 64, which when decoded sends you to this channel. The channel's bio reads, "The holy walls chamber me in, the lies are filthy. Bring my life, my love back to me again. My determination can't be stopped by cretins like you." As we look at the channel, we can see that it only has one public video, which depicts Natalie walking past a church and then a river. Once again, this video follows the reoccurring theme of water, which we'll look further into later on in the video. This link leads us to an unlisted YouTube short, which depicts Natalie hiding before filming the church. If we then read the comments of this video, Natalie has said, "They can't know I was here, I have a plan." At this time, there isn't really any further indication as to what the plan is. The TikTok itself is quite unsubstantial, however, the audio playing is of an 852 Hz frequency, which, when I looked it up, is known to increase spiritual connection and help connect with your higher self. So that may be something that's worth taking note of. The next video again is of little substance. It's another day out with Bennard, who's still in his second form. Once again, Natalie mentions laziness as a sin, but doesn't really tell us much else. If we move on to the next video, Natalie divulges that she's been experiencing low energy, saying, "I'm so tired lately." The caption of the video mentions that she's been getting very emotional and says, "I'll get back into posting regularly soon, but my time has been taken up by someone else lately." This is our first mention of someone else taking up Natalie's time, who will become important very soon. Another interesting observation from this video is in the caption, she's tagged Lord of the Flies. To give a brief overview of the story of Lord of the Flies, it's a novel about a group of schoolboys who get stranded on an island and slowly descend into cannibalism. I think it's very important to note that within the novel, there is a fear of a beast, fueled solely by paranoia and irritability, and I think we can very easily link this to Natalie's personal struggles. Again, I think the choice for tags is a very intentional choice to make us think about what is going on behind the scenes. The takeaway of the book as a whole is really that it reveals humanity's inherent darkness, which I think again is really representative of Natalie's videos and the themes present throughout. If we delve into the comments on this video, we can once again see Natalie say, "I'm done with this Bennard. He is nothing like what I wanted. I'll go back to the drawing board again." And this is the last time we see this Bennard before he is once again destroyed. The next video showcases Natalie trying to work out the logistics behind her next iteration of Bennard. We see her comparing measurements of a dog and a human, almost like she's trying to figure out whether a human could fit into a dog's body. This is then further proven by her caption, "Look at how perfectly you would fit." Again, this is a theory that we will see develop further on in the story, but for now, keep that in the back of your mind. The next video we come to shows Natalie approaching Bennard with some kind of weapon in hand, but that is all the TikTok shows us. However, in the caption for this, there's a string of characters that are encoded in hex. When you decode this, it leads you to another unlisted YouTube short. And as you can see, this video shows Natalie aggressively attacking Bennard, ending his current form. Digital Bennard 2.0. After Bennard succumbs to his attack, we now see the return of Bennard's digital soul. The video itself shows Bennard sitting in what seems to be a doctor's office, potentially a vet, but I think it's a doctor's office, and we can hear breathing alongside a heartbeat. It's a very, very off-putting video. In the caption, we see Natalie write, "Heart beating, breathing," followed by another prayer in Latin. "I slowly snatch a little sheep from the shepherd's flock. Leave the keeper to see and let his heavy anger fall. He did not know that his fleece was gradually slipping into emptiness. His flock is decreasing, but my fortune is increasing. The takeaway from this is take note of the first line, as it doesn't make much sense now, but later, everything will fall into place. In this next video, we see Natalie return to her roots and show off her Christmas nails. This is the first nail video we've had since September, so this is a new one. The audio starts normal, and then about 10 seconds in, just becomes a really loud static. And at the end of the video, we see it cut to a clip of her seemingly hiding somewhere. Natalie responded to one of the comments on her video with this. And if we put together all of the capitalized letters, it spells out Bennard Rebirth, Jan 1st. This is our first indicator as to when we will see Bennard's next physical form. We also see Latin in the caption of this video, which translates to, "An angel made by man, let me sow your wings again." I think that again, this is another indicator of Natalie feeling godlike, and again points to her plans regarding Bennard. If we move back to the YouTube short showcasing the river, it's at this point that Natalie responds to a commenter with the following. "I love taking walks in the countryside. If only Bennard could keep me company. I have never felt this lonely before. It's eating me alive. I can't fucking take this anymore." When the commenter responds, pleading Natalie to get help, she responds with, "Thank you for your concern. I just keep getting worse, you know. I'm drinking like my bastard mother. Everyone in my life keeps lying to me. Always fucking lying. I can't trust anyone. They are all out to get me. I just know it. My therapist said something about psychosis or schizophrenia, whatever, because it runs in my family. But it's not true. Fuck them all. Thanks for caring about me. Right now I actually can't cope anymore. Oh my god, fuck my life. I can't take this." I think it's obviously very important to take note of the amount of spelling mistakes in this. This is a really important indicator that Natalie is not just spiralling, but now spiralling completely out of control. When pressed again to seek professional help, Natalie responds with, "They are fucking liars. Dirty, filthy liars. They want to hurt me. They think I'm stupid. I know they do. They want to take my happiness away. Fuck them. I can't trust them anymore. My friends, my family, my therapist just wants my money. I know she does, man. Fuck her. I can't trust anyone. I keep getting hurt. Stupid fucking priest. Stupid fucking church. Fuck him and his followers. I will kill them all. Stupid bastards." Again, this really highlights that Natalie's faith in the church is declining. At this point, Natalie looks to be seriously mentally unwell, threatening to kill the members of the church. I think there's a pretty big indicator here that Natalie is not okay. At some point around this time, and I can't actually confirm when, but Natalie uploaded a story onto her TikTok page, and this is where we're introduced to Lucy, Natalie's friend from church. She uploads this. "Happy birthday, Lucy, my friend from church. Turning 21, beautiful girl. I love you. Make sure you see this, my love. Sweet baby, warm, soft, bloated underbelly, pretty, pretty girl. Swollen with blood and meat, grimy, stretched skin, soft, slippery blubber. We will have to fix you, my love." I think that the features Natalie's pointing out in this, in regards to Lucy, paint quite a clear picture that Natalie's getting Lucy and Bennard confused. She's using the same rhetoric for both, saying we'll have to fix you, the mention of soft bloated underbelly. I think she's confusing the two, and this is once again highlighting her spiral. She's not thinking straight, and we will see this continue further later on in her series. Bennards New Vessel. Being a woman of her word, on January 1st, Natalie unveiled Bennard's newest physical form. These videos are so uncomfortable to watch. This video shows a very, very humanoid version of Bennard moving. There's clear lacerations to his legs, and I think it's pretty clear that there's now a person inside, whatever this is. If we move into the comment sections, when asked what Bennard's favourite activity is, Natalie says, "Mostly squirming on the floor now, but he used to enjoy swimming." Once again, we're seeing Natalie bring up this running theme of water and swimming. As we move on to the next video, again, a very, very uncomfortable video, which shows Bennard slouched in the corner of a room. Once again, very, very clear there's a person inside there. The video then cuts to a close-up of his face, where all you can see is his eye darting around the room, honestly, almost pleading. In the comments, Natalie addresses that this time she's morphed Bennard with Lucy, saying things like, "I did not kill her. I simply combined the two things that I love most. And I did mention plucking a sheep from the herd. I hope it serves as a warning, but I might need to do something more drastic next time." So, obviously here we see her address directly one of the prayers that she's previously mentioned. She also threatens that she might need to do something more drastic, insinuating again that there is still more in store for Bennard. Bless his heart, he can't catch a break. The caption of this video is once again in Latin, and it reads, "Angel made by man, to be born again and again. How obedient and defenseless I can make you. How much smaller and more beautiful you can become. Remove the bite that protects you. I know you want to hinder your fate. Cut off your ears and tails, shorter and smaller. Show your submission. Soft skin, soft as a woven blanket. How I can make you obedient. I am your God and creator. Now come to me again. My little, soft angel." So we now have direct evidence of Natalie considering herself a god, with this prayer linking directly to what she's previously said about Lucy, with the soft skin, show your submission, how obedient and defenseless I can make you. There's a lot of links between them, and we can see that she's been planning this combination of Lucy and Bennard for a while. From here on out, the videos get really quite disturbing, and the next video on Natalie's account is a video of a pulled tooth, presumably from Lucy. This can be inferred from the comment section. She also begins to tease a YouTube blog, which she says she will soon release. The next video is an almost identical video of pulled teeth, however the comment section does give more context to this. Before planning on making this video, I was actually engaging with Natalie, so when I commented to ask her, "Oh Natalie, what did Lucy do to deserve this?" she actually responded by saying, "Sometimes hurting people can be for good. I love Lucy a lot. She's probably the only person I have left in my life, except for my daughter, and I haven't talked to her since Christmas, since she's with my ex-boyfriend. It's not like I am enjoying this either, but how else is she going to learn? I also did use injectable pain medication. I used to train as a nurse before I became a nail tech. It didn't work fully, but it did make it easier." This gives us a lot of context about Natalie's life, including the fact that she's no longer seeing her daughter and the fact that these are, in fact, Lucy's teeth. She doesn't come across as remorseful, but rather like she's excusing something necessary, something that had to happen. As we move on to our last video posted on her TikTok, the video is simply a video of bruises on Natalie. In the comments, one user asks if Bennard is okay, to which Natalie responds, "Bennard is getting more aggressive with me, haha, but he is in good health." This makes it sound like Bennard is starting to fight back to Natalie. And this video, once again, directs us to an unlisted YouTube video, which is by far the most disturbing video yet. And as of right now, is the last video uploaded. I think I'll let you guys watch this one yourselves. I think that video speaks for itself. One thing though, do you remember that rosary that I said to take note of earlier? Natalie's first ever rosary? Well, look at Lucy's neck in this video. Thematic Analysis. If we look deeper into Natalie's YouTube posts, we can see two total, one showing a depiction of the famous statue The Thinker. This statue, when I looked into it, is symbolic of contemplation, creativity, and intellectual struggle. However, the nude form tends to emphasise the power of the mind over the body. The only other thing we have on this post is Natalie in the comments saying, "Sorry, I'll have to hide it again. Gotta cover my tracks for safety, you know." I can't find anything that links to this. I did look. I'm not sure if I missed something before I started researching for this. If we move on, the post before this one is another drawing of Natalie's, which this time features a portrait of Bennard, along with another image of assumedly Bennard and who we can only assume is Natalie. Alongside both of these images, there's Latin writing, which I've translated, which may not be 100% accurate because a lot of it is very blurry, but I did my best. I got, for the first section, "Starting to forget your face." This is written next to the portrait of Bennard, which clearly is another portrayal of grief, which is exacerbated by Bennard's multiple vessels at this point in the story. The second lot of text that I translated to, "Do you remember how gently I kissed you 9 years ago? I love you more than you know." This one is the one that I'm slightly more hesitant on, just because the writing was quite blurry. However, there is one piece of information that I haven't told you yet. He would be around 9 in dog years, but I heard somewhere that dog years are not a thing. Natalie has now explicitly told us how old Bennard was. 9 years in dog years is not even a year old. Bennard was just a puppy when he died. With him dying so young, this really begs the question of just how exactly did Bennard pass away? Let's circle back to the number 9. In a biblical context, the number 9 has significant meaning. It represents divine completion, the end of one cycle whilst another begins. That ties in almost too well to what we've been seeing happening to Bennard. Stay with me here. In the video before Bennard gains his physical body, we see him practicing his doggy paddle. I've already mentioned how eerie this depiction is, and I've now found more evidence to explain why. In spiritual beliefs, water symbolises purification, rebirth, and life, acting as a channel between the physical and spiritual realms, representing cleansing and renewal. It almost makes too much sense. This is the last video we see before Bennard is rebirthed into a physical form. Water is also massively seen as a liminal space which crosses between the real and the not real. It's used to wash things away, which we can say is used to clear the guilt she feels. Water disguises danger, and anything can look serene when it is hiding in the water. This video is quite literally there to show us Bennard crossing from the spiritual world into his physical form. Once again, stay with me. Eyes have remained a constant theme throughout, and what do eyes represent spiritually? Eyes are the gateway to the soul, a window directly to the spiritual world. This is why Bennard's eyes are the focal point of every video, why the eyes were removed in Bennard's first and second physical form, only to be returned after his soul merges with Lucy's. As soon as Bennard lost his eyes, we start to see Natalie lose her connection to him, because she is no longer able to connect to the soul of Bennard. Bennard with no eyes has no connection to the soul, and as such, there is nothing there to make him Bennard anymore. Stay with me. Throughout this entire series, Bennard's name really stuck out to me. And it wasn't until now that I realised why. When have you ever met a dog called Bennard? Bennard is a red herring. We're told early on that he was called Rufus, which is an incredibly common dog name. Bennard is a variant of the name Bernard, which means brave, strong bear, which almost suggests a false identity for this dog. Bennard can also mean danger appearing in something that appears harmless, which is shown in Natalie's bruises in the most recent video. The original name, Rufus, divulges from Latin. What has Natalie constantly used throughout? Latin. It means red. Connotations of red, danger, warning. To me, this information suggests a split perception, almost as if only Natalie herself sees him as Bennard. Who does Natalie see herself as? If we now take another look at the song that Natalie posted her second TikTok of Digital Bennard to, the full title is Myxomatosis, Judge, Jury and Executioner. The part of this that I want to take particular notice of is the judge, jury and executioner part. This is the perfect example of how Natalie sees herself. She is the judge, the jury, and the executioner. We see this so clearly in how she takes Bennard's fate into her own hands, desperately trying to recreate the dog that she once, supposedly, loved. Moving on to Natalie's most recent TikTok, she shows us her bruises, followed up by a clip of a spider. Everything Natalie shows us tells us something, and what the spider is telling me is that there's a deception somewhere. In the Bible, spiders represent evil, they represent deceit, the web represents fragility and the ability of things to fall through. And this is what I believe is starting to happen with Natalie. She is starting to let her mask slip. With everything we've said so far, I think it's fair to say that we can draw a very distinct conclusion. Natalie herself is an unreliable narrator. Almost nothing she says makes sense. Her rants in YouTube comments, her constant cryptic communication, coupled with the inconsistencies in Bennard himself, paint a very clear picture of Natalie not wanting to divulge what really is going on. She uses the grief as a mask for something I believe is much darker. As for what that is, well, it's up to you to decide. If you've made it to this point, I just wanted to say thank you so much for watching the video. This is my first video, so if you did enjoy, I would love it if you could drop a like and possibly subscribe to me. I'm really looking forward to seeing where this story goes, and I'm sure there will be another video when more videos come out from Natalie.